Request to speak?
We have 3 requests to speak. First up is Ann Bettinger.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Ann Bettinger, and I have resided in the same house in Fountain Valley for 50 years. Mr. Mayor, tonight you stated you wanted what's best for the city. Originally, and my statement had to do with it being held at Miles Square Park. And somewhere in the, I don't know how long it's been, not very long, that has now changed. So I will address this to the city sports areas that this was discussed tonight. I think it's wrong. I think it sets a precedent. I think that by setting a precedent like that, you will have no excuse to come back to anyone else who wants to have the fireworks at the sports center for whatever reason. And I'll point out one, and that would be the Tet Festival. Fireworks are toxic. The residue that cannot be mitigated or cleaned up by employees or volunteers sinks down into the groundwater eventually through rain and becomes toxic to our groundwater. And you can call the water board about that. That's a proven fact. They're dangerous, obviously, and if you have individuals with no supervision of who's standing next to who and who's drinking, even though it's not legal to drink, they're going to do it anyway. They're going to do their drugs, and you're going to have people there that have different temperaments next to each other, which will cause a lot of problems. I think it's too high of a risk for the city as far as liability goes, and I really don't want to be part and parcel of the taxpayers that are paying money out on personal liability lawsuits against the city. I think it's too great a risk for that. I think the amount for putting this on and cleanup is more than we need to be spending on something like this. We could be, my guess was $18,000. Okay, I don't know what you came up with there, so let's round it up to $20,000. Can't we spend that on something better than putting on and cleaning up fireworks? I'm all for celebrating the 4th of July for the 250th anniversary of our country, believe me. And if that means that we allow it within the city confines, out in our streets, so be it. I've lived here long enough when that was legal, okay? We did it, and we did it safely, but times have changed, and not everybody does it safely. Not everybody is going to stand with their hand on a Bible and say, I will use safe and sane fireworks in my street. It doesn't happen. They're setting off rockets and who knows what all else, and they're coming up from Mexico and out of state with this stuff. So we have no control over that. The police have very little control over that, and the fire department has even less control over that.
And your time is up.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Katy, Wright.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first question that came to my mind, my husband's mind, and 3 of my friends' mind when I told them about this: what drugs is he on? I seriously have a question. If a citizen suspects that one of the city council members has been taking illicit drugs, what recourse do I have? Can I ask the chief, can you please test, or can we create a policy where before every meeting, randomly, one of you gets tested every meeting? Because this is insanity on a stick. When I was 16, I met my cousin Dane for the first time. He had one eye. He had an eye patch. He had been at the beach in Santa Monica minding his own business. And we're talking, I was 16. We're talking 50 years ago, back when pot was illegal, for one thing. Now it's legal. There's all manner of bad behavior, parents not paying attention to their kids. Look at the e-bike crisis we have from inattentive parents. Don't even pretend parents are going to be supervising their kids here. Get over it. He was at the beach and someone blew off a bottle rocket and it landed right in his eye socket. So he's got PTSD and one eye for life because one careless person in a public venue decided, oh, a bottle rocket would be fun. Yeah, sure. How fun is that? Frankly, it's obvious how this even came up. Someone who's been sitting here on the city council for over 6 years, very quiet, very inoffensive, very inattentive. When he was mayor, people had to explain to him when you did the certain things in the various meetings because he hasn't been paying attention for 6 years. Now, he comes in, every other month he's pretending to be a man of the people, which he has not been for 6 years. So now all of a sudden he's patriotic. Oh, we have our 250th anniversary. I challenge him to recite any patriotic poem that we used to recite on Flag Day when I was a kid. Every kid in my cohort, in my age group, could have recited, "On Flanders fields the poppies grow. Listen, my children, and you shall hear the midnight ride of Paul Revere." I came up here and did Barbara Fritchie. Let's go ahead and pretend someone is a great patriot with the election coming up. And sure, it's not his year to be reelected, but he's got buddies that he's trying to get reelected.
Mr. Mayor,
he's trying to be a
point
man
of
of the
order.
people.
They
He's not.
must address to the entire body,
Okay, I think she's
according to the rule.
completed her comment, so.
Leston, Trueblood.
Understood. Welcome.
I don't know if you noticed, but the fellow from Animal Control was sick, and I don't want to pick it up. He was sick as a dog, possibly. Anyway, I'm here to talk about fireworks. I guess the first thing I want to say are idiots and teenagers, or adults, I should say. Adults and teenagers are idiots when it comes to fireworks. And unfortunately, children are victims. So my comment tonight, or comments tonight, are really for the children. How hot do fireworks burn? Well, the short answer is really, really hot. Some fireworks can reach temperatures of up to 1,200 to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit for certain sparkler tips. And just to put that in perspective, let's go to 2,000. Glass melts at 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. Wood burns at 575 degrees Fahrenheit. And most kitchen ovens, they top out at 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're dealing with, even if it's safe and sane, we're dealing with something that can get to be 2,000 degrees. Because they look playful, people often assume that fireworks are harmless, especially items like sparklers. But sparklers alone account for roughly 25% of all firework-related injuries among mostly children. That's because they burn at 2,000 degrees, hot enough to melt gold and severely burn skin in seconds. I'm a little sensitive about this. My mother worked for a while at the UCI Burn Center. She took care of the little Rothenberg boy, if you remember, when his father left him in a hotel room and he was burned severely. My mother took care of him. And she used to talk about the smells, the pain, everything that he went through. He was a victim. If you have children that get burned, if you get burned yourself, go to ucihealth.org. They're an incredible organization. They're in Orange. Their address is 101 The City Drive, South Building 1 in Orange. Their phone number is 888-622-2876. And I'm running out of time, but one last thing is there was an article, and we have attorneys for everything. There's a fellow named Alan, A-H-D-O-O-T, who has a website that says Understand Liability in Neglect Firework Handling Cases. Boy, if you read that for the liability for the city, or as an individual property owner, or as an individual, it's very sobering, and it's going to cost you a ton of money. By the way, one last thing. The kids that were here from Monroe, it's very sobering, because I was one of the first-year kids at Monroe in 1964. So
Leston.
seeing these kids from Monroe, That was 62 years ago for me.
Thank you.
I've been here a while.
No further requests to speak.